and another Beefsgiving special to you all. And today we are going to give you the story of the very first Beefsgiving. The Berry Fairy. First,
The Berry Fairy. Very,
the
very,
Berry Fairy.
very large
fairy,
part in the history of Beefsgiving.
The Berry Fairy came down in 1943. Yes, the first Beefsgiving was 1943, and the Berry Fairy came down to Earth.
Before Diddy
and
was known
land-
as Doo-Wah.
Exactly. Landed upon this blue and green rock we called Earth. And as she took a step forward, she seen a round, almost oval object, white in color. As she went up to examine it, she heard a noise and a rumbling, and it began to shake, and it began to crack, and out came a beak and ate the Berry Fairy. And so ends the Berry Fairy's plot in this story. That beak came from none other than the gobbling goober that you see on the left hand of your screen right there before you. Yes, that is the creator of Beefsgiving. The gobbling goober awoke from a shelled life. Some would say sheltered too much by its parents, and wanted to see the earth as had never been seen before. And as this gobbling goober strode along, it came upon a village. And in this village, folks were gathering around and getting ready for a ceremony of sorts. And as the ceremony commenced, they were turning pumpkins into pies and yams into candied. But most of all, this gobbling goober noticed that they were turning turkeys into dead. Well, this gobbling goober wanted none of this, and he ran afoul and took off into the wooded lands. And in the wooded lands, he met a pink unicorn frog named the Goobbledygawker. And the Goobbledygawker was watching as a gawker does, and voyeuristically noticed the slaughtering of millions and millions of turkeys. And although the Goobbledygawker was getting very hungry and wanted to eat these turkeys, the gobbling goober talked to the Goobbledygawker, and they came up with a plan. A plan to put an end to the innocent slaughter of millions of the goober's kind. So they went to the local prosthetics shop and bought fake glasses with big noses and mustaches, and walked right in to the villagers' village. Unbeknownst to these people, there were two creatures walking amongst them. And as the creatures went forward, they spread what would soon be called the avian flu. Yes, the avian flu, folks. They tainted every last turkey with a Chinese virus from bad wonton soup. They fed them all expired wonton soup. All of the turkeys went bad, and the villagers were forced to slaughter the rest of the cows of the land to feed them in their bounty. They gave thanks to the beef, and henceforward called this day Beefsgiving.
Yes.
And so is the tale of the first Beefsgiving.
That's some interesting beer you got there, Fat Mac. Oh, it's my favorite holiday tale.
Yeah, when my parents used to tell me that as a wee lad. I mean, we still hang up the gobbling goober and the Goobbledygawker on our tree at Christmas time, and we sacrifice the firstborn female to them every Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. What do you call the day after? The post Thanksgiving? The Thanksgiving post? I thought there was a name for the day after something, and I can't think
Thanksgiving
of what it
Post
is.
sounds like a newsletter you get once a year.
The Thanksgiving Post, right? It does.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Thanks,
But that's
Aftermath.
Okay. Works. The Gaftermath. How was your thanks Gaftermath there, Pasty White?
Well, I didn't bring home much for leftovers from my family's house, so I've been eating some sweet potato pie and some pumpkin pie and some apple pie. But no turkey, because we can't eat the turkey on Beefsgiving.
No, not on Beefsgiving. It's sacrilegious. People have been canonized for that, and by that I mean they were shot out of cannons into the sun. Not the canonized that the Catholics do. Them Catholics can turn anything negative into a positive. You're gonna die. You'll have eternal life. You're gonna be canonized. We're gonna honor you. You're gonna get molested. The priest likes your work. They just know how to turn anything negative into a positive. You got to give them credit for that. They are a positive son of a bitch. What other kind of religion lets you wear your own anal beads around your neck? There's not many. There's not many religions that it's okay to wear anal beads around your neck. The Catholics got it, though.
That is great, because on the Black Friday sale on the PlayStation Network, they had the new South Park, The Fractured Butthole on sale. And it came with the first game, which I've already owned, but I don't have it on the PS4, so I never play it. So I figured double score, picked it up.
Right.
When you fight the Catholic priests, as I'm sure you've seen, because I think it's in commercials and everything, the one Catholic priest does pull his rosary from his ass.
That's awesome. My son has watched all the boss fights from the Fractured Butthole. I haven't seen anything of the Fractured Butthole, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. Very good things.
It's pleasing.
Sounds like it's even better than Stick of Truth.
Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be longer, which is great, because that was my biggest issue. And they never released any DLC for it. Granted, I'm one that kind of scoffs at paying more for a game. But when a game was that short, and I was like, I don't know, I was waiting for it, and it never happened. This game will be getting DLC in 2018.
Yeah.
So, that's cool.
And they actually carry over some villains from the Stick of Truth into the Fractured Butthole. Little spoiler there for you.
Ooh.
I won't say who, but they do. But they do.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. It was worth getting and not paying $60
good.
for.
Right. I was kind of a day late, but I got all my Christmas lights up today, so I'm Christmased out finally. Should have been done yesterday or the day before, but I got it today. As hopefully you folks can see, I got Christmas lights here in the studio, and I got Christmas lights around my house. Now I don't know where I was at before. Let's just go with that. Let's go. Let's get you. There we go. Yeah, got Christmas lights around and finally got my Halloween stuff down. See, I'm not a middleman. I don't really, I don't do anything for Thanksgiving as far as decorations. I keep my Halloween decorations out until Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving, I take my Halloween decorations down and put my Christmas decorations up. Then I keep my Christmas decorations up at least until usually January 2nd, because you're usually hungover on January 1st and you don't really do anything, let alone take down Christmas shit.
Right.
So that was good. I got that done today. I had my nieces and nephew and son help me with everything. So it was kind of a nice little family bonding time.
There you go. We still have to purchase a new Christmas tree. I chucked mine out last year.
Right. You got to do it every couple years, even when you buy the fake ones. They only last 3 years with lights.
You keep a real tree for a couple of years? That's what I'm
No, a
questioning.
real tree you can only
Well,
do
you
1
said
year.
even with the fake ones, like
That's what I'm saying.
of
Even with
course
the
you're
fake
gonna
ones, they
keep.
can't. No, what I'm saying is even with the fake ones, you can't keep them forever. I mean, people will buy a fake one like, yes, I bought a fake one. I never have to buy one again. No, they only last like 3 years with the lights. If you don't buy them with the lights, they can last longer than that. But even then, they get old after a while. You put them down, take them up, put them down, take them up. The smart thing to do is what I used to do back when we had a big house and I lived with my parents. Is we actually had a tree that we left up all year round, and we just bought ornaments for different seasons, and we decorated it for each season because it's much easier to redecorate it every 3 months than to take it down and put it back up once a year.
I get
Especially depending, because like we had an attic, so we'd have to take the Christmas tree down, bring it upstairs, then bring it upstairs again to the attic, put it away, then go all the way up to the attic, bring it down, bring it all the way downstairs, set it up, decorate it. It was just a lot of work. It's like, you know what? Just decorate it for each season.
Shut a hole in the floor and plant a tree there.
Right? That would work.
For some years.
There's actually there's some houses that have trees built in the middle of them. I always find that odd. But you know, you got to be an eccentric rich person to own that, or an extremely poor person. It's one or the other.
Right.
There's no mediocre people living with a
Either
fucking
you
tree in the
planned
middle
for
of their
that
house.
tree to be there and paid for it, or you build your house around the tree.
Exactly. It's one or the other. It started poking up through the floorboards, and you couldn't fucking afford
Guys,
somebody to.
it's not a tree house if it's on the ground.
Oh. Yes. So I'm looking forward to this. We held off doing our NXT War Games. I was gonna watch it one more time before we got to do it, and I haven't watched it a second time, so I feel bad.
Same.
Because I think I could have done it more justice, but I think we'll still do it justice. I think there's still a lot to talk about. I think there's a good enough to talk about to get us an hour out of this. First of all, what was your overall feeling of the whole thing compared to all the other war game or all the other takeovers? I guess I should say that we've seen.
Well, I had the distinct advantage of not watching it the night of, and then you telling me that most of it was meh. So I went and watched the matches that made it worth watching, and the 3 I watched were really fucking good.
And to be fair, out of 5, you still watched over 50% of that show, especially with War Games being about 45 minutes to an hour long. You easily watched over 50% of the show.
Right.
So, assuming that I'm right that the other 2 matches are worth skipping, and let's just give them a solid. Let's just give them a 2 down the board. Let's say they were a 2.
Okay.
We're just throwing that out there. That's just me making that up, but I'm just giving it a number. Out of 5, we'll say they're a 2. You watch the other 3. Where do you put this War Games as a whole? Like, how did you feel about it? If you assumed the other 2 were a 2, they were like, meh, I watched them. I wasn't horribly disappointed, but they existed. And now I watched these 3, and now it's all over. I feel NXT War Games was...
It was... middle of the road, probably, with the matches I didn't watch in accountants. I mean, if I'm just basing it off of the 3 matches I did watch, it was amazing.
Right.
So
So why don't you did you say which ones? Did you say which ones you watched? I don't remember.
No,
did
I
you
didn't.
let the audience at home know which one? Let them know which ones you watched.
Black versus Velveteen Dream. The second half, because I was kind of fast forwarding 2 War Games, and I'm like, oh shit, my boy CN. So I watched the second half of the NXT Championship match, and then I watched the War Games match, of course, because why else would I be watching the pay-per-view?
Got a pay-per-view called War Games. Might as well watch the War Games match. Yeah, I would say probably of this year. It's hard to say. I part of me says this is maybe the weakest of the entire year. But that being said, the two main events were probably better than any main events we had this whole year.
Yeah.
So I'd maybe go with you as middle of the road. Maybe this is middle of the road because the matches that like, didn't win me over.
Takeovers this year in general have been fairly lackluster.
They've been down, yeah, I would agree.
I'd say last year, 2015, none of these pay-per-views can stack up to them.
Probably not. No, not as a whole. NXT not all the way down the card.
Brooklyn 2, those were great. What's going on this year is, I mean, they're in a transition period. WWE keeps taking all their top guys, and rightfully so. But, yeah, I don't know. War Games, I think, probably made up for the pay-per-view. So out of 10, I'll say it's probably a good 5. Well, we'll give it a 5.7.
Yeah.
Because War Games itself made me like people I didn't like before. So that's great.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. And I think we got enough time. We can start at the bottom of the card and move up because I think we'll have plenty of time. I don't think we have a lot to say about some other things, especially with, I guess, 2 of them. I'm going to probably do most of the talking. So we'll go with the first match was Lars Sullivan, and he defeated Cassius Ohno. You and I both picked Lars Sullivan. They've been pushing him. This was actually one of the better outings, I think, of him. I enjoyed this match more than I probably enjoyed any other Lars Sullivan match. And on the other side, as far as Cassius Ohno goes, this is one of the weaker matches, I think, for Cassius Ohno. I don't know if WWE knows what they're doing with Cassius Ohno, or if WWE does know what they're doing with him, and they're just he's just gonna put over. If he's at a point in his career where they don't really see themselves pushing him and just using him to put other people over is what I see at this point. But I could have easily skipped this match and it wouldn't have bothered me none at all. I didn't need to see it. Lars impressed me, like I said, more than he has in the past, but in the ring, he's awesome, and he doesn't have he's not even awesome. He's really good in the ring, but he doesn't have the charisma, and I don't mean that even just on the mic. I mean, in the ring, he isn't getting me engaged in the story, at least not in anything I've seen yet. So that's that. I'd honestly give that a 1 out of 5 stars. The very next match was Aleister Black versus the Velveteen Dream. Aleister Black won this one. He beat the Velveteen Dream. I voted for Aleister Black. You voted for the Velveteen Dream. The story behind this is, you know what? This is Wrestling 101. This burned it down to a very simple story, but it's one that really worked. Velveteen Dream just wanted Aleister Black to acknowledge him. He was like, say my name, acknowledge me, look me in the eye. Leading up to this, in the promos leading up to this, Aleister Black wouldn't look Velveteen Dream in the eye, folks. If you don't watch NXT, he wouldn't even look him in the face. He would not acknowledge his existence. And this whole which feels like a big feud, it seems like this is the culmination of a big rivalry, is really over the fact that Velveteen Dream just wants to be recognized. What were your thoughts on this match, Pasty?
It was pretty intense, and I really liked the way the two opposite characters played together. And God, it was insane. They put it all out there on both ends, and the ending was pretty amazing too, with him finally being recognized and crying on Aleister Black. At the very end, felt like, even though this matchup was as far from legitimate as you can get, it felt more legitimate than a lot of matches because of the way they play off of each other.
Yeah. And if anybody didn't watch it, at the very end, like I said, Aleister Black won. And it was actually really out of nowhere. I was kind of surprised. I would say that, if I have any criticism, it's that the ending to me felt kind of flat. But Velveteen Dream injured his arm. No. I'm thinking of the main event or the championship match. I'm not thinking of that. God, how did this one end? I don't even remember how it ended right now. But at the end, I apologize, folks. I really should have rewatched this today. I got putting my Christmas lights up. I put that up first. I shouldn't have. But Aleister Black beat Velveteen Dream, but he took the mic and he basically said, like, Velveteen Dream, I don't know what he said, but he said his name and he acknowledged it. Or no, he's like, there you go, Velveteen Dream, live on in infamy, is what he said.
Yes.
Basically saying, hey man, I beat you, but you're always going to be remembered after this match. And that's true. I think that's true. If anybody wasn't on the Velveteen Dream train, you don't have to like the guy, but you're definitely going to look forward to his next match now. You're going to be paying attention to when he's on the card. So that was pretty cool for the culmination of this feud, for him to actually acknowledge him.
The handshake that you would think it would have. It ended with the acknowledgement and the breakdown, and it was in its own right. It's beautiful.
It ended with him sitting on the damn mat
with Velveteen Dream basically
Black
crying, Velveteen Dream basically crying on his shoulder.
Yeah, basically. Which kind of like earlier in the match, I loved it because Aleister Black went running. Velveteen Dream was out on the outside of the ringside, if you will, and Aleister Black went to like he was gonna jump at him, and he ended up doing a springboard backflip, and he sat down, which he does, and that's kind of a key of his. But then later on, Aleister's on the outside, and Velveteen Dream acted like he was going to attack him, and he did a similar motion, but did it in his own style. He was on the ring apron, and he flipped back over and then sat down cross-legged. So I thought that was kind of neat how Velveteen Dream threw that in also. I mean, you could tell they've really been paying attention to each other, even more so Velveteen Dream than Aleister Black. Like, Velveteen really did his homework going into this match.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to do as the rookie, the underdog in the match. It was damn good, though.
I feel Velveteen Dream could be... I guess they got Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman and Velveteen Dream could be the two guys that WWE actually makes. The question is, how does Velveteen transfer to the main roster? How does he work up on the main roster? Does he? Does his character mesh and meld into the main roster or not? Because Velveteen Dream is not an indie darling like a lot of us are used to. Not like Aleister Black. Aleister Black has spent years in like Insane Championship Wrestling, ICW, over in England and throughout the European circuit. He was Tommy Young, not Tommy Young. Tommy, I can't think of one. All I can think of is Tommy Young. Tommy Young, reach up and give me a hand job. Tommy Young. Oh, everybody go over to LoisRules.com and go buy a Tommy Young shirt and say Fat Max sent you. That's LoisRules.com. Buy a Tommy Young shirt. I can't think of his name. Tommy End. There you go. Over it, and he wrestled in Europe for a long time. And so many guys that are NXT alumni, as your Seth Rollins, your Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, who I know isn't an NXT guy, but I mean anybody who's big right now, your Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, WWE didn't make them. They're leasing them out right now. But Velveteen Dream, if they can make him work, I mean, he is a WWE guy. As far as I know, all he's done is worked in the performance studio. He's only been an NXT guy. If he has done stuff outside of it, it's very minor. And I think this match shows he can hang with people. He can...
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I mean, and it might just be if you give him the right guy, but that's okay. That's how it starts. Give him the right guy for a while. I mean, I've seen nothing but good things from him.
I think I've heard rumors and whisperings around the interwebs that Batista's pondering a return.
Yes, sir. I've heard that also.
And if you put Velveteen Dream up against somebody like Batista, who's an icon, who could be defeated, Batista would be the big buff guy who's kind of homophobic. It doesn't really get the gimmick and it pisses him off. And I think that could help to launch Velveteen Dream. You wouldn't get it with Cena. You might get it with Orton. Brock Lesnar would destroy Velveteen Dream, and it wouldn't have a point.
It's not happening.
So somebody like Batista, or even Triple H, if Triple H is still like doing things around.
Triple H is not jobbing to Velveteen Dream. I'm telling you that right now.
But I think you gotta push him hard right away against people who characteristically could be slightly homophobic. The Miz could even be a good starter for him.
Right? On a Facebook page that you and I are both on, I believe it was Cult of Kayfabe it was on, somebody had posted something about who in the current roster could do the Nature Boy justice, the Nature Boy gimmick. And I know you had posted on there Bobby Roode, which makes a lot of sense. I had put on there, I was like, hey, why not twist it into a homosexual deal? We've never had a homosexual Nature Boy. I think Velveteen Dream could be that guy. He could do that. Now, that being said, don't take me wrong. I don't want them to stick Velveteen Dream with the Nature Boy gimmick. But I think short term, he could rock the Nature Boy gimmick and do it in a homosexual way. And I think it'd be neat to see a homosexual take on the Nature Boy gimmick. Because not all Playboys have to be womanizing. Some can be menizing. Menizing. You know, I think that would be neat. And I think he could do it. I think he has the charisma. There's one thing this kid has, it's charisma.
Oh, yeah.
He might have nothing else. He has charisma. He oozes it.
I'm definitely looking forward to see where he goes from here.
I am also. I don't know how it's going to translate on the main roster, as I said. I can easily see him becoming a Tyler Breeze or an Ascension. Easily. And I hate to say that, but it's true.
His character would have to be too good for
maybe
Fashion Police.
Maybe he ends up being a 205 Live guy. I don't want him to, but maybe.
I would hate that.
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. And he's got, and I'm fine with him spending 2 more years down in NXT or more. I mean, he can hang out down in NXT. He's young. He's got plenty of time to hone his craft in NXT. He has plenty of time to face all the indie guys that come through and learn more and more from them. If he can absorb them like a sponge, this guy could end up being great by the time he comes up to the main roster. You don't have to push him right away. The next match we had was the NXT Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way match. Ember Moon finally, she grabbed onto the gold by beating Nikki Cross, Peyton Royce. Why do I got Nikki Cross on here twice? Did I do that or did you do that?
You did it.
I'm trying to think who the fourth woman was. I did not put them on there because that's on the end also. That got changed. I really should have rewatched this. It was Peyton Royce, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, and Kairi Sane.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know how Nikki Cross got in there twice. Man, I was out of it when I was making this up. Apparently. Really good match. It was a very good match. Ember Moon ended up winning it when she did an eclipse onto Nikki Cross and Peyton Royce and pinned Nikki Cross to get the win. They protected Kairi Sane in here. She had a lot of good momentum. Actually, I think they did a good job of making all the women look pretty decent in this one. I just don't think any one woman looked super strong throughout the whole thing. And I think they could have done better at that. I think that I don't know if all the women held back or what it was, but it was a good match, very good. And they all looked good. But not a one of them looked, I thought, great like they could have. With Ember Moon hitting that Eclipse on both Cross and Peyton Royce, that was actually really beautiful. And I think it's great for Ember Moon to get the gold. She's been chasing it forever, it seems like, at least a year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Of course, Asuka had it, and Asuka wasn't going to drop it to nobody. She's the HBIC, despite what they want to show you up on the main roster. So it was good to see her get it. They protected Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane didn't take the pinfall here. In fact, she's the only one who didn't get hit by the finisher here. So that was kind of cool. That was a good thing. And I see an Ember Moon Kairi Sane feud stemming from this. That's what I see going forward, is Ember Moon Kairi Sane. The good thing with all these women getting called up to both SmackDown and Raw is that we're probably going to see some more women get brought into NXT, and they could definitely use a shakeup at this point. And there's a lot of women from the Mae Young Classic that are going to come in and shake shit up. I know you didn't watch this, Pacey, but do you have anything to say on it? Have you read anything, heard anything?
Well, I heard that Ember Moon won, and I wasn't surprised. I mean, I know I picked Cross, but figured Ember Moon would win.
And that wouldn't have surprised me either. I think the bigger surprise out of the week was I think a lot of people were surprised Nikki Cross wasn't one of the women that got called up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can see them trying to keep her with Sanity.
Oh, yeah, call her up when Sanity gets called up. Especially after what's about to transpire a little later in the evening.
We got a lot I think we got a lot to say about Sanity. So I don't know that I have anything more to say about this. It's a good match. Pasty, I mean, if you get a chance to go back and rewatch some of this, I would recommend you rewatch the NXT Women's Title match.
I'll probably
I don't think you missed anything by missing it. Yeah, I don't think you missed anything from missing it, but I do think it's a good match. And it's always, in this day and age, if you can find good women's matches to show women who are not wrestling fans, I always love that. And this would be a good one, I think. I think this represents a lot of different kind of women, different physically. They look different. The way they wrestle, they have different wrestling styles. I think that's always good to show women, because women's wrestling has such a black eye. I was listening to a podcast with some of the ladies from the Glow show, the NXT show Glow. And when they were talking, Chavo Guerrero was on there also, and he was talking about how his uncle Mondo trained the original ones, and he was debating back and forth on whether he should do it, because he said back then women's wrestling was just seen as kind of a gimmick, and they'd only have like one wrestling match per show, and that the women were on. And one of the women that's on Glow, she was like, yeah, as opposed to today where they have 2 matches. And I was just like, wow, like that really hit me. Like, wow, like, yeah, people still realize today that women's wrestling is seen as kind of a gimmick and a joke. And it's because she's right. Like, that was back in the 70s, 80s. And since the 70s, 80s, it hasn't really gotten any better. They have one more match on the card now than they used to. That's sad.
I'm telling you, if you give the women their own show, it'll get watched more than 205 Live.
I agree with that, but I think that separates them even more.
Their challengers on the main roster shows. You know what I mean?
See, but I think that separates them even more. That kind of makes them seem like even less deserving. If they want to do something, have a Raw where the whole Raw show is women's matches except for one men's match in the middle. It's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, but then they'd have to book that 50-50 for the rest of the time.
They'd have to what?
They'd have to book that like that for the rest of the time.
Why?
Because
you start there. That's a place to start. the next week you can have just one match or two matches.
And then the following week, just one or two matches of men's matches. And then the week after that,
exactly,
one or two matches. I wouldn't like that.
And then sooner or later, it's 4 and 4, and you have 4 women's matches and 4 men's matches. And going on after that, it's whatever the storyline dictates. If you have bigger and more important storylines for the women, you have more women's matches. If you have bigger and more important storyline for the men, you have more men's matches. Instead of looking at it as men or women's, just look at it as a wrestling match. Don't say, okay, we have a women's match we need to get in here. Say, we have these storylines and these stories that need to get told, so that's why this week these people are going to be on the show. You know what I mean? Dictate it by storyline. And give them good storylines. What does it hurt? It increases ratings. I guarantee you it increases ratings. If nothing else, then because it's different. At least to start out with.
It's funny that you're talking about that too, and equality, and not looking at them as men and women. Because I was just scrolling through the Book of Faces, and I scrolled past a kayfabe news headline, which is fake news in the best way. Progressive WWE ends gender discrimination. Strowman Bayley set for WrestleMania.
Why not? Why couldn't you do Strowman Bayley for WrestleMania?
Because she would die.
No more than anyone else against Strowman, though. Look at Bayley and look at Miz. Does Miz have a better chance of beating Strowman than Bayley?
I don't see Miz and Bayley as evenly matched, though.
Well, I know Bayley would whoop Miz's ass.
Unless Maurice was there.
Unless Maurice was there. But that's what I'm saying. It's not going to happen, and I know. But, you know, I look at things like Shimmer. I love Shimmer. And I have to go and like download Shimmer or upload or record Shimmer or shit like that to watch it because I don't have a place to watch it. But Shimmer is a 2-hour long women's show. They only have about 6 shows per year or so you don't get as much as them. Yeah. But damned if their matches and their storylines ain't every bit as good as any of the other indies or as WWE. I love it. It's just, I mean, I get it, and I get it, and it's not going to happen. My point is just it could be a little more even than it is. When you have 3 hours of Raw and you give the women 10 minutes total, it's kind of rough. It just seems a little rough, especially when we get matches or people that nobody wants to see. You know?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. All right. We had the NXT Championship match. Andrade Cien Almas won the title from Drew McIntyre. Pacey, you seen this coming? I did not. And from what I've read on the web, I don't think most people expected Drew to lose it this soon. But I'm not disappointed in how it happened, and I thought it was a really amazing match.
Yeah. Like I said, I only caught the second half. But it was pretty great.
I think this is the best title match of NXT this year. Hands down.
And finally, a man with a female manager. And the female manager actually gets her hands dirty with that Spike Rana. That was pretty great to see.
Right? That was. Yeah, she's like this year, she's this era's sensational Sherry. Like, she's a woman, and I mean, you could call her a valet. I call her a manager. I don't call her a valet. I call her a manager. And she's a badass manager. She's a badass manager. She'll get her hands dirty. This is the match where I was saying Drew McIntyre got injured. At the very end there, they went up to do what ended up being a DDT spot-ish from the top rope. And what happened was Drew McIntyre was sitting up there, and Andrade Cien almost was reversing a move, and he ended up hitting the tornado DDT on him. But it almost looks like Drew McIntyre was either holding on longer than he should have, or tried to move his arm to try to get set up when Andrade started to go. Anyway, he ended up tearing some ligaments, and he's going to be out for a while, it looks like, which is sad. Drew
Yeah,
McIntyre is a
I
hell of a
said
talent,
so
and he's
too,
really
right when I
pushed right
was
now.
watching it. Like, holy shit, that probably really hurt him. I didn't catch any
And you
news about it
know
afterwards, but holy shit.
that the end came out of nowhere, but it sounds like that was the planned end, and it was kind of they were. It sounds like that everything went as scheduled, so that wasn't why it came out of nowhere. That's just kind of how they did it, because this big ass long ass match they had going back and forth and back and forth. Andrade kind of picks it up out of nowhere, which really surprised me. He did hit his hammerlock DDT. Thank you for helping me, Pasty.
You're welcome.
He hit his hammerlock DDT and just got it right away, which kind of came out of nowhere. But it was cool. And you know what? I was talking to my son, and let's bring this up, shall we? There are, 4 people finally using the DDT as a finisher now?
Yeah.
You have Andrade Cien Almas has the hammerlock DDT. Drew McIntyre uses a spike DDT. Alexa Bliss uses a spike DDT. And Dean Ambrose's Dirty Deeds is a double underhook DDT.
Doesn't Bobby Roode use the DDT as well?
Bobby Roode has the glorious DDT. So for all these years that, when we first, well, maybe not so much Pasty, but especially me growing up, DDT was a end move. When you got hit by the DDT, you were done. And from the 90s into the 2010s, it kind of just turned into a transition move.
Right.
Where people would do
but
multiple
now the
DDTs.
Super kick is a transition move.
And now the super kick's a transition move, which makes way more sense than the DDT. A super kick is just a kick. They just slap their thigh a little harder when they do it. I mean, there is no such thing as a super kick. It is just a kick.
Right.
Where a DDT is you literally slamming somebody down on their head and compacting their spinal column. So it's cool to see that the DDT is once again being used as a real ending move. I love it. I was talking to my son about that. I was like, it never used to be. And it's, when you look at it shoot-wise, like not kayfabe, but if you look at it shoot, like moves that you could do in real life, DDT is going to fuck somebody up pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of moves that aren't going to do a whole lot. Clothesline from hell is not going to do much to somebody.
DDT's on the same level as the Tombstone Piledriver by far.
Right? And I saw, and folks, there's a video up on Beefstick's Facebook page. It's a little while down because it's been a while since I put it up there, but there was a drunk brawl. And these guys, this one dude ended up hitting a Tombstone Piledriver on the one guy's girlfriend, and the bitch popped right up like it was nothing. I couldn't believe it. It's like, oh shit! And it's on the tar. It's in the middle of they're in the parking lot. This guy grabs the broad and ends up just tombstoning her head first in the fucking parking lot. I can't believe she
end up tombstoning someone. That was premeditated, sir. It doesn't just happen.
If you watch it, it actually makes sense how it just happens, because she's kind of coming at him, and he's more trying to hold her and stop her, and she's got her head down as she's attacking. So he grabs her, and so of course he grabs her underneath because she has her head down. And to stop her from trying to push him or getting momentum, he pulls her up. And he ends up pulling her up, and he has her held there, and she's still kicking and screaming. So I guess instead of dropping her, he's like, fuck you, bitch. Boom!
I would have went for the power bomb at that point. All the way to the power bomb.
Right? Power bomb the cunt. It's funny. Oh, good. Very good match. Like I said, I'd have to go back and watch, or at least read what all the championship matches were this year, but this one's in the top 3 of NXT championship matches this year, if not the best.
Yeah.
I love Bobby Roode, but man, his string of championship matches were just kind of lacking to what they should have been. We all know what Bobby Roode can do, and he just didn't. I feel like most of the times I watched a match with him, it was just like, good, but should have been better. Good, but should have been better. Right. Maybe because I expect less out of Cien and McIntyre. I don't know. But these ones just felt more satisfying to me, personally. That was my feelings. And then we came to the Coupe de Gracie. That is how
Yes,
you say that, right? Pasty
I
Coupe
think
de
so.
Gracie. I'm reading it right now.
That's how I've always said it.
I'm reading it phonetically. That's how you say that word, right?
Yeah, like the phone and the network.
Um, we had what NXT and or WWE is calling the War Games match. Now, before I get to sucking the balls of the dead, because I loved this match, this was not to me in any way a War Games match. Not what I watched as a kid. So I'm going to put that out there right now. To me, this was not a War Games match. But that being said, holy fuck, was this not an awesome match? And this
Oh yeah.
has to be in the discussion for the best matches of 2017 in WWE. Has to be in discussion. I'm not saying it takes the cake. It has to be in discussion. So the rules were a little wonky. They had the 3 teams, and 1 person from each team went in there. Now, in the past, it would have been 2 teams, a face team and a heel team. And going into this, I guess Author of Pains are kind of the face, but kind of seemed like 3 heel teams, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. And then Johnny Gargano.
Yeah. Or not, you mean
No.
Roderick Strong?
Yeah, whatever. Same person.
No.
It's like Dean Koontz and Stephen King. Same person.
Johnny Gargano is an awesome wrestler. Roderick Strong is mid of the road. But, so you had 1 of each in there. And then they didn't do a coin toss like you used to do. What they ended up doing was similar to what they do in the elimination chamber, where a random spotlight will light up the other 2. Well, I should say the other 2 contestants for each team. There's 3 teams of 3. 1 of each of the teams starts in the match. After 2 minutes, one of the other team the other 2 remaining of a team. See, it's really hard to even explain. It's so complicated. Let me start over. So there's a team of Undisputed Era. Okay? So we have Red Dragon and Adam Cole. Then there was a team of Author of Pain and Roderick Strong. Then there was a team of Sanity, which was Eric Young, Killian Death Ray, and Alexander Wolf. So to start out,
I just want to point out when Roderick Strong came out in the fucking attire of the Authors of Pain, it ruined their costume for me forever. They didn't look so badass anymore, because he definitely didn't look badass.
So he didn't. So we had Roderick Strong went in for his team. Who started for the other teams? Eric Young.
It was the leaders of every team. It was Adam Cole,
Eric Young, and Adam Cole, right?
Roderick, yeah. Which was great.
So
I was super happy to see that, because I kind of expected those guys to, be in last or whatever.
Be the last, right?
Yeah.
So with those 3 in the ring, we had the Authors of Pain in 1 shark cage. We had Red Dragon in another shark cage. And we had Death Ray Murder Child and Alexander Wolf in another shark cage. Now, after 2 minutes, one of those shark cages open, but both guys come out. Both other teammates come out, which is kind of weird, I thought. But my guess is they did that for time. But it's an NXT takeover. It's your WWE network. Why not go an extra half hour and just have one? But that's okay. Whatever.
Well, because the match doesn't start till everybody's in the ring. I think it kind of made sense.
Well, that's how War Games always went. But there was 5 guys. Well, but you still get the advantage even if one of each team, if one came out, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd have 2 on. Yeah. In the past, what it would be was there'd be 2 teams of 5. 2 people would start, and every 2 minutes, one other person would come in. And you'd go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until everybody was in the ring. And then the first pinfall or submission would be the end. Another weird rule they had here was if anybody left the ring, their entire team is eliminated, which is weird. I guess it kind of makes sense, but you'd think if nothing else, well, why not a 10 count like normal? Like if you're out for 10, So that kind of to me was weird. I've never heard of a match where when you get out you lose. I've heard of one where you get out you win.
Right.
Never heard of one that when you get out you lose, which made it even weirder when
You
one
have
of the
heard
authors
of
of
a cage
pain.
match where if you get out you win, but your partner has to get out, and if you go back in, you're back in the match
Then
somehow.
you're legal again. Oh my gosh, I had forgot about that, Pacey. Why'd you remind me? That was awful. So then we had a spot where one of the authors of pain spent 5 minutes trying to lock the door and not succeeding.
No.
Which,
why did they have a ref there to do it?
The referee does it in every other cage match. He could do it in this one. Number 2, he swallowed the key, which again, weird. But if when you leave you're eliminated,
no,
why do you even need a lock on the door?
The key. That wasn't until the rest of Sanity came in at the end. And he brought his own chain and locked the door with his own chain. He locked it with beyond the hinge lock that was on the cage. That's two different scenarios.
What's the point of doing that? So if you leave the fucking cage, you lose anyway. So 1, nobody's gonna leave the cage. We already know that.
They all want to kill each other, and at some point, somebody's gonna be like, "I don't want to be killed anymore. Let me out of here."
Okay, so 2, don't you want to allow your other opponent to leave, and then it's just like, well, I don't have to worry about them now. I just have one team to beat up. Like, it just, none of it made sense.
Well, if that's the case, they should have ripped the door off the cage and then just chucked people out when they were at their weakest. Like, oh, your whole team's eliminated.
Yeah, the whole leaving. I mean, don't get me wrong. Inside the ring, I loved every moment of it. But their weird rules hurt my brain. I did not like it at all.
And if you just
did not like it.
The rules didn't bother me at all. I understand this is WWE's first time trying to wrap their heads around this concept.
You didn't really grow up on War Games, though.
No, I didn't.
So it wouldn't bother you. It bothered me. It hurt my head. But that being said, then, so instead of flipping a coin to see who would go next, because there's 3 people and you don't have a 3-sided coin, so that makes sense to me. They had the random spotlight like you would do in a elimination chamber. And so wherever the spotlight shined would be the person who gets to go out. So the first time that somebody could come out, the spotlight shined, and it shined on Sanity.
No.
So Sanity got...
Sanity
or Undisputed Era. Undisputed Era. You're right. It shined on Undisputed Era. So Red Dragon got to come out, which I guess they're the most heel of all the heels in there. So that makes sense to me because you always want your heels to have the advantage.
Right.
So that did make sense to me. But then the second time, the spotlight shone on Sanity, but they let the Authors of Pain out. And then as the ref started letting the Authors of Pain out, the fucking spotlight guy shut the Sanity spotlight off and turned on the Authors of Pain spotlight. So they ruined their own gimmick there. So it wasn't even random. They knew who they were doing. So they kind of screwed up their own gimmick there by somebody not knowing how to handle the spotlights, I guess. But that's okay. That's my complaints. I'm completely out of complaints.
Good.
So let's go ahead and talk about the match, Pasty.
Fuck. It starts so great with the leaders of each team in the ring fighting each other, forging alliances. It was good fun. And then when the rest of the Age of Aggression, the Undisputed Era,
CFO,
the urinary analysis,
Red Dragon, basically. When Red Dragon came out,
they came in, and it was still cool after that because Eric Young and Strong had to work together more. And then when I thought it was really funny when he couldn't get the door locked when the Authors of Pain got in. But the match really, and the whole time I'm like, it's not a legit match yet. It doesn't matter. I mean, people are getting beat up, and that's cool. And you weaken down the guys who've been in there the longest. That's the point. But it wasn't until everybody was in that I was like, fuck yeah. When they started pulling out the toys from under the ring. And then the crowd changed history just by chanting, "We want tables." And so they put tables in the ring that they wouldn't touch for 90% of the match because they didn't know how to incorporate them into something they had already planned out, move for move.
And that even made it even more painfully obvious when fucking yeah, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was Death Murder Killboy ended up going through the table and busted himself open
the shit out of his head
to where there was just a giant pool of blood on that table, and you didn't see him for like another 10 minutes. But when you go back and rewatch it, he's actually rolled over to the side of the cage, and the medics are working on his busted open head through the cage.
Should have just used the blue cage.
Because you can't leave the cage,
right?
Or he would have forfeited, so you can't get out there. So they were like gluing him up and doing whatever they had to do. And then he made a complete recovery, and just there was a lot of blood in this match.
Oh yeah.
Both Murder Death Killray and Alexander Wolf probably impressed me the most out of everybody in this match. I did not fucking expect that. Those two I expected to be the ones I thought least about. And it wasn't. Oh my God, did I love everything they did. Now, what kind of going on what you said, I do have one more complaint, but it's the same complaint I'd have about all the other war games, is it was kind of boring until you got everybody in there. And that, like I said, that's a complaint from the war games from the beginning of time, is until everybody gets in there, you know nobody's going to win or lose. And the guys, they fight, and they fight good, but they kind of save their energy up for when it's really on. Yeah. And they should. The people who were in there from the beginning are in there for, like you said, almost an hour. God bless them. But once everybody was in there, I think it was another half hour or so before they had a finish.
Yeah. Yeah, it was long as hell. And I was so happy when they brought in weapons. Like, that's just going to make it even more fun. We need that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Could have without the garbage can.
I like a lot about not complaining anymore. One more complaint I have, which isn't so much a complaint, more of an observation. They put a runner in between the two rings. They had a metal runner there so that there was no hole and you could kind of just walk between the two rings, which is okay and it's good for safety. I would have loved for them to use it, like hurt somebody with it, but they never really did.
A little bit, but not much.
Not too long ago, I was watching...
I want to know why it's necessary to have two sets of ropes in the middle. Why couldn't you just connect the two rings and have nothing dividing the middle?
Physics. The rings wouldn't hold up. They'd fall apart.
If you anchored them on the outside somehow. I don't know. And it would be bad for the rest of the show. Did anybody else use the second ring at all during the show? They
alternated between each one.
Okay.
So it had equal wear and tear on each one. But I was watching War Games, I think 92 War Games from WCW 92 War Games, and it had Steve Austin in there. It had the Four Horsemen. It had Brian Pillman. It had just a who's who, actually. I mean, just tons. Greg the Hammer Valentine was in it. Tons of people were in there, and twice during that match, they had somebody upside down with their head between the two rings, and they were doing stuff to them with the guys straight up and down with their head between the two rings. And I was like, God, that's such clever use of the two rings with there being a hole there. And in the past, they've put people's legs in there and then pulled them and stretched them and done stuff like that. So I kind of feel there's more you can do with a hole between the two rings than with that runner there.
If slipped, there could be real injury there, and it wouldn't take much. I see why they
That's
put the
true, but it's
there.
A cage match. Fucking suck it up, son. You're a fucking wrestler. This isn't fucking painting with your kids. This is a fucking wrestling match. If you don't want to fucking go in a fucking cage match, then don't go in a cage match, bitch. That's how I answer that. It shouldn't be about their safety at that point. It should be about our entertainment.
Well, then it should be streams of fire shooting up from between the two rings.
I would love it. I would love it. I'd be okay with that. Have a sensor bar every time something crosses that sensor. Whoosh. No. That's more of something I pointed out. I mean, that's more of an observation, is that you lost the chance to do something fun like that. I do understand why they do it. and I like it. I'm sure the wrestlers liked it. There was a couple Tower of Doom spots that I thought were really good. At least one. For some reason, I think there was two. Yeah, there was one on each side at the same time.
Yep. And
Adam
the guys
Cole was
into
the
each
only one
other
not
and then slammed them on the
involved.
ground. Yep.
So there was two Tower of Doom spots. I'm always a sucker for a Tower of Doom spot. They look so cheap. Like they're one of the fakest moves you can do in wrestling.
It's just impressive that people of that stature can pull that kind of maneuver off at all.
Yeah.
Two big guys on the corner in itself is like, holy shit.
Right. And then what really kind of, I don't know what they were doing with Adam Cole. He spent 5 minutes at least just hanging out on the top of the cage.
Yeah,
he climbed up to the top of the cage.
Everybody else. It's good heel work.
He inchwormed over, and then he like did nothing for like 5 minutes there. And it's like, do something or leave the match. It was very awkward watching him just hang out there. It's like, I don't know. I feel like somebody somewhere missed a call, whether he did that too early or whether after he came out, somebody said something to the ref, like, we need to go longer, just leave him up there.
We still gotta get through this other table, I believe.
I don't know. Something just did, that felt really awkward to me. Like, that felt like a long time he was doing nothing up on the top. But then you had Roderick Strong come up there and superplexed him off the top of the fucking cage, which just looked sick.
Oh, yeah.
I was so worried for him and everybody on the bottom that he landed on. That could have easily went wrong. Easily.
But it went right. So
it did. That was definitely the holy shit moment of the whole fucking night. And then the match ended up ending when Eric Young, I believe it was Eric Young, had a steel chair, and he was getting ready to get up and hit somebody with it. Who knows? There's people everywhere. Everybody else was basically down, so it was probably Adam Cole. But anyways, when he started to get up, Adam Cole came to hit a Shining Wizard on him, and Eric Young put the chair up to block himself, but in doing that had Adam Cole basically Shining Wizard the chair right into Eric Young's face, and he got the pin 1, 2, 3 right there. So I thought it was a really cool ending. I thought the ending made sense. You just had that giant superplex, so everybody was out of it.
It could have been just a little bit smoother. Because the way he picked up the chair, you could totally tell he was trying to get it in front of his face. He should have been struggling to get up in a more jerky fashion. And just as he's about to stand up and the chair is crossing that path, not like he's holding it there on purpose for it to happen like it happened. Then, yeah.
I agree. It looked more like him holding it up than blocking it. I feel the story they were trying to tell was he was blocking his face with it. But I agree with you. Holding. Even mention, fucking Killian Deathray did a coast to coast.
Yes, he did.
He got on one turnbuckle. He had, was it Eric Young?
I think so.
I think it was Eric Young. And the other, and okay, so the guy's bigger, and he didn't all the way make it to the turn. Huh?
He wouldn't have did it to his own.
Oh, yeah. It must have been, was it Roderick Strong? Kyle O'Reilly? It was somebody.
I think it was Strong.
Might have been Roderick Strong. Now, they didn't have it all the way back to the other corner, so they did give him a little extra room. For a guy as big as he is, I don't even give a shit that they did that.
Right.
That's fine with me. And it gave him a chance to kind of fall backwards into the corner. But yeah, he got a garbage can up. He snugged it in between the two ropes, and he did a coast to coast, a Van Terminator, if you will, from one ring corner to the other. For a dude that size to do that,
coast across both rings would have been way cooler. Do it from the top of the cage all the way to the furthest corner, dude. Shane McMahon would have did that. Or even just springboard from one rope to the other rope and then do a coast to coast. Even that would be impressive. Not gonna happen, but that would have been impressive. All in all, I mean, I think everybody impressed me here. The Authors of Pain had a string where they were dominating, and I
didn't really notice for two big guys, they didn't seem to get overly or at least noticeably winded. Like, usually they get blown, big guys get blown up pretty quickly, and these guys did not seem to blow up. They seemed to still be going.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
An excellent
Honestly,
match. And I'm looking forward to seeing WWE rethinking this War Games, looking back at it, analyzing it, and bringing it to the main roster.
Well, I have read, and again, I mean, this doesn't mean anything, but I read that it went over so well, they're considering making it a staple for NXT takeover every Survivor Series. That every Survivor Series there's a takeover War Games, which would be cool also.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that. But
I want to see it.
WWE is going to steal it for themselves also.
Yeah.
The one thing that probably surprised me is out of everybody in there, I think I was the least impressed with Adam Cole. And maybe that's just because the other guys impressed me as much as they did, and I expected so little out of them. Eric Young also didn't really impress me much, but he's been known to not impress me.
He doesn't need to. He's the veteran, It's about all the other guys getting over.
Yeah. Actually, I'd be willing to say Roderick, Eric, and Adam Cole impressed me the least. But that being said, they were in there from the beginning, so they were probably the most blown up out of anybody.
Right.
So that would kind of make sense also. Match of the night, I'm going with Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream. Just slightly ahead of War Games. I would have put War Games up there. It's an either or, honestly, in my opinion. But I'm going to say Aleister Black, Velveteen Dream.
I'm going to say my match of the night is War Games. But they were both damn good. And they both made the pay-per-view worth it.
They both gave you something extremely different. Those two matches couldn't be more different.
Right.
So it's understandable. And you could have went either way. I'd even be okay with somebody saying the championship match was their match of the night, because that was a very incredible match and told a great story also. And the fact that, I mean, I know you called it, Pasty, but I don't think a lot of people expected Cien to win it right now, or even to be the next guy to win it. I think a lot of people expected either Aleister or Adam Cole to win the title from Drew. I don't think many people actually expected Almas to win the title. So, way to shut up the naysayers.
I like Cien, and he needs to win it so he can just be called up and be done with in NXT, because he's exhausting the things he can possibly accomplish. It's about time he got it.
And it's good.
And Drew Galloway, like I
said,
just
a few months ago.
Like I said, three-man band could come back and be better than ever.
Yeah, they could.
I want to see it. I really do. I hate that I want to see it, but I really want to see it.
But Drew McIntyre's the only one who's good out of the three yet.
Yeah, Jinder's still
It's going to be the exact same as the original one.
I don't think so.
I don't see Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal making people excited. They haven't done it yet.
Well, Heath Slater would be the Xavier Woods of the group. The early Xavier Woods, where he was more of a mouthpiece than a wrestler. And there you go.
Yeah, that's kind of like putting Roman with the Shield. They cheer every time they're together, but when Roman's alone, they boo.
Yeah.
You can put Jinder with 3MB, and they might cheer 3MB, but they're going to boo Jinder nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, they could be like the Shield. They could, get over in that sense. And then we could have a War Games with New Day Shield and two-man band. Boom. Beautiful.
That would be a War Games. I'll give you that. It's a way to get a War Games there. Well, if they're going to do the three, I wish they'd try. I would wish if WWE brought up to the main roster, they'd try it a 5-on-5. Because they got enough people up there, they can do that. They got a stocked enough roster. There's no reason they can't do a 5-on-5.
Traditional 5-on-5. Be a not traditional 5-on-5 and have it be a War Games.
Yeah.
Then your younger guys don't have to get pinned immediately to not get any credit in the match. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You can have the young guys start out and do the distance. They're the ones that are going to get blown up less. So I tell you what, Shane McMahon ain't lasting an hour.
No,
That's for sure. Shane McMahon ain't lasting an hour in that ring. He's going in last.
Triple H might last an hour, but you wouldn't see him for a few weeks afterwards.
Right. Oh.
Shit. All I know is this was
what do you think, Pasty?
Pretty decent pay-per-view with some amazing matches. And
I agree. I think it's definitely a worthwhile watch. At 2 hours, it's easily a worthwhile watch.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. And I'd say if you want to just go and watch just Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream and War Games, go ahead and do that.
Do it.
Because War Games is long. I want you to be ready for War Games to be long, because it's long. I did it. I watched the first... actually, I think I watched everything up until War Games the night of. And then I went to sleep, and then after work, I watched the War Games match after that. So I did watch the War Games separate, so I didn't have the whole 2 hours either. So maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. Nonetheless, I recommend it. I recommend it more than I do Survivor Series, easily. I don't think there's a single match. AJ Brock is the only match on Survivor Series I'd actually recommend people go out and watch. And this is the problem. You know, you had NXT War Games. They had this match with 9 people in there. Bloody as hell. It's awesome. You go to the main roster, you have a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. Not a single drop of blood. And you don't have to have blood, but it just never seemed important.
Yeah.
It just never seemed important.
Right.
Where War Games seemed like everybody, it really was important to all of them the whole time.
Right. And there was nothing on the line. But
Yeah, that's actually a good point. There was nothing on the line here either. And they made you feel like it was important. That's actually a good point, Pasty. They hid that fact so well, I'd forgot about that. There was nothing on the line. Same with the Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream. There really wasn't anything tangible on the line, but Velveteen Dream just wanted to be acknowledged. And something that simple, when done right, actually works. Yeah, I like it. Oh, I think we're good for the evening. That's all I got, man. We told them the history of the first Beefsgiving, and we got them the TakeOver War Games review.
Yeah.
Anything else we wanted to spit out there?
I don't think so. I haven't really heard too much in news since...
I have a couple things in news, but I have a feeling it's going to be another slow week, so I'm just going to save it for Thursday.
All right, let's do that. Let's get on with
it. All right. I'll talk to everybody later. Love you like a lovesick puppy.
We'll see you on Thursday or another day. We'll figure that out by Thursday.
Good night.